Welcome to Women Innovators in Tech Spotlight, where we honor leaders driving transformation and leaving a lasting impact. I'm Sheetal Acharya, and today on the Spotlight we have our lovely guest, Brandy Prefontaine, Director of Architecture and IT Controls at Suncor. And she is a dynamic leader driving transformation, building high-performing teams, and delivering strategic solutions. She is passionate about coaching top talent and fostering strong, lasting relationships across teams and stakeholders. So let's welcome her. Hi, Brandy. Welcome to our show, and it's truly a pleasure to host you today.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So let's get into our conversation, Brandy. You have had such a fascinating career. So what made you move to technology, and especially on the, audit side?
In IT, within IT. Well, I have a fairly varied background. So originally my education is in metals and materials engineering. So I started out my career working in materials engineering. One of my first roles as a co-op student was actually working in a lead smelter. I was with Caminco in Trail. And so I was one of the first women to work in that lead smelter. So that was one of the first places I got exposed to industrial technology, essentially. When I first started out, I was then working as an engineer designing pressure vessels for hydrogen and natural gas vehicles. And so I did that for several years. It was quite an exciting role. I worked with various automotive manufacturers, so with Ford and Daimler Chrysler and Toyota. Quite exciting. We got to build pressure vessels, and they matched with the Ballard fuel cells. So that was quite exciting at the time. From there, I did go back to school and do a business degree, and transitioned into research, technology commercialization. That was where I was first exposed to IT types of technology. So some of the entrepreneurs that we work with, and some of the researchers that I worked with when I was at the time Alberta Research Council and Innovate Calgary. From there, I did a short stint in consulting and then moved to NMAX, where I was involved with some of the integration of the energy centers, the new energy centers in Calgary, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But after some of those projects wrapped up, I moved into IT. And so I transitioned with my project management background, coming from the engineering side, the business side, and was able to leverage a lot of the skills and knowledge that I had into the IT side. And that was about just over 10 years ago now. And when I joined Suncor, I continued on in IT and have been growing my career since then. And so most of my career in IT has been primarily on the operations side. So on corporate IT, as well as project delivery, so some large enterprise projects. Recently, this year, I was moved into a position, took an opportunity. It was a growth opportunity for me in architecture and IT controls. So I've been on a steep learning curve this year and doing a lot of things to develop and mature our controls practices and our architecture practice and strategy work at Suncor.
That's amazing. And you have a perfect blend of, coming from engineering background, then manufacturing, utilities, and now into IT. So that makes a perfect blend of the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, it's quite a broad background, diverse background. Often when I'm asked the question, I wouldn't say that I had one clear career trajectory path. There was a lot of times throughout where certain people influenced and helped me find opportunities, and I was also open to considering different opportunities. I certainly at the time had never thought I'd end up in IT. It was one of the leaders I had a vision and an idea, and I was open to trying it, and I'm really glad I did.
That's wonderful. Talking about, I had the same question that, did you face any challenges in your career journey, like switching on to different roles or profiles? You mentioned you had a mentor to guide you to the right path, but did you face any challenges during your career journey?
Many challenges during my career journey, as I think we all do. Some of them certainly career related, some of them personal. You know, certainly transitioning careers like I did, although I always leveraged similar skill sets, transitioning into whether that be a new area of industry, or a new organization, or a new level of role. It always comes with challenges. You know, I know for me at times there'll be moments when I'm in a new role and I'll have self-doubt, I'll question myself. There's always that period of uncertainty. Having done it many times now, I know that period of uncertainty is going to be there, and I have tools and strategies to navigate through it.
That's wonderful.
And I think the pieces of that in those challenges is to always to continue to move through them. And generally I find another big thing has been to reach out and work with people and get help and support. On the personal side, I did navigate challenges through my 30s. I was diagnosed with an illness through my mid 30s that I really had to balance between my health and my career. And as I went through that period in my life, it was extremely challenging. And I look back now and I often wonder how I got through that. I had some amazing people that supported me, and very fortunate today to receive medical support and treatment and be able to have a healthy and full career.
That's a very inspiring and motivating journey. Thanks for sharing that with us, Brandy. Now let's talk a little bit about IT controls. So what are the common challenges that you face when we talk about audits, controls, with all these emerging technologies coming in?
It's a great question, Still, one of the things, certainly with AI coming in, we're going to have to be navigating through a lot of unknowns as AI is introduced. We are already starting to have conversations with our audit teams, our internal teams, looking at some of the thought papers. AI is going to shift things in ways that I don't think anyone can fully predict right now. And as we figure out, we are trying to balance the lens of ensuring security and safety, and keeping those controls in place, balanced with being able to leverage the full ability of AI technologies. And that's a very fine balance for organizations, any organization, to walk. And so as we're looking at that balance, we have to be thinking of that controls piece first and foremost, and then find ways to safely be able to leverage that technology across organizations. I think a lot of it is going to be having mindsets, partnering with each other, internally within our organizations, with our external audit teams, with other folks in the industry who are learning very quickly. It's going to be a very fast pace of learning. And to be able to find ways to be thoughtful, but yet still move at pace.
No, absolutely. That's a great answer. And talking about, maintaining that balance, legacy systems versus the new systems, again, I think that's the challenging part, right? Like, how do you maintain the legacy ones and still go with the new technologies?
Absolutely. And so looking at it from an architecture lens, the legacy technologies are going to be there in organizations. And one of the things that we can be thinking about, and one of the things that we think about in terms of strategy, is to be able to, how do we set things up so that we can test and learn from smaller prototypes and smaller projects, but then also be thinking strategically. And one of the things I've been talking a lot about is, how do we have 3-year plans, 3-year adaptable plans, to be thinking around where could we be going, and how do we think about the legacy technologies that we have? And then over time, we're starting to shift into a direction. And so that's a really fine balance, to be able to do both those rapid tests, but then at the same time still be holding a longer term view of where we're going.
Absolutely. So Brandy, you were born and raised here in Calgary. So you're the one who would have seen massive transformation happening in Alberta, especially in Calgary, in the tech landscape. So, we would like to know from your lens how the transformation has been, and what are the main changes that you have seen all these years?
Absolutely. When I was what was Calgary Technologies, it's now Innovate Calgary, and this was just about 20 years ago. At the time, it was extremely challenging to find and raise investment for tech companies. Software, IT companies were always struggling. At the time, if you were not oil and gas, it was very difficult to get investment. And so there was always, an effort to find creative ways to get funding and support, whether that be government funding, but also angel investing, venture financing. And one of the things at the time that we saw was some of the companies that would become, the bigger companies or the unicorns, they would actually leave to either go to Vancouver or down to Silicon Valley at the time. It's very difficult to retain them here. I can remember actually going back to speak at the University of Calgary with a group of us, and some folks were talking about the oil and gas industry. I was talking about the tech industry at the time. And I just remember all of the students all gathering around the folks that had talked about oil and gas. And then, there's very few people interested in talking about tech at that point in time. And now fast forward 20 years later, and we see a dramatic difference. And we see the conversation happening in parallel. So we're talking about the energy industry in parallel with technology and what technology is going to do for the energy industry in terms of enablement and moving things forward. And it's really exciting to see that conversation. And I know some of the folks that I stay in touch with on the technology investment side, they say it's a very exciting time to be in technology in Calgary. There's a lot more investment happening, a lot more events, a lot more support within the ecosystem as a whole for technology companies in Calgary. And just over the years, you look at some of the tech companies, Benevity is an example that have just grown up in Calgary.
Absolutely.
It's really exciting to see that we have demonstrated that we are able to fund and grow and build tech companies here in Calgary.
So Brandy, you are at a leadership role and you have been leading teams. So what are the core values which you believe that every leader should have, and what are the values that, stayed with you throughout your journey?
I often will reflect on my own personal values to be able to ground into how I connect with my team. One of my personal values, which I have evolved over the last few years, has been connection to self and well-being. And I have that for my whole team as well. And so one of the things that I do notice at times within not only tech sectors, but I think in society as a whole, we start to get very disconnected. We get disconnected from ourselves. We get disconnected from each other. And when that starts to happen, we're not able to have really grounded, thoughtful conversation and really work together collaboratively to solve deeply complex issues. And I think it's incredibly important for us to really root into who we are, but also deeply connect with other people so that we can have those conversations and we can find path forward, especially when we know we're going to be facing extreme challenges, I think, in the future, trying to navigate some of the things that are coming.
So Brandy, you're also involved in mentoring women. So do you want to share about that?
Absolutely. One of the things that I felt personally very strongly about, and over time I've evolved in my thinking. And 4 years ago, I started the Women Engaged Network in Calgary through Suncor, and learned a lot through that experience. And then subsequently started a Women in DNIT program. And some of the things that we're doing in that program is to find ways to support women as they are coming up through their careers. I've had a lot of women, more senior women, and even some of the more recent events where there was an Access event recently in Calgary here, and a lot of the women we're talking about, it's about how to have a hand up and a hand down and be pulling the women up behind you, and to find ways to do that are supportive. And so one of the things that we're doing is we've set up mentoring circles within the organization. And then I've worked with a lot of my male peers, and we've started up a two-way mentoring program with men and women. Because one of the things that we do see is there's often more men within the organization than women. We have fewer women in leadership roles. And so to also get that support from our male colleagues to think about and have a conversation around how we support women in technology.
So Brandy, you're doing great work. So thank you so much. You're a really true source of inspiration for all the women out there. Now, talking about women network, how much important do you think it is to have a network of women who can support each other?
I think it's important to have both networks in general. So men and women, I believe that's very important. When looking at networks of women, I know for myself, even outside of work, I have a network of women who are very deliberate and purposely working on self-development, leadership, addressing some of the challenges as you navigate various phases of life. And that's been incredibly supportive for me. So I feel that often, and even in the mentoring circles I have, there's conversations that you're able to have in a network of women that are sometimes, feel like a safer space, and you can have those discussions very openly and transparently. In that, I've also recently been thinking more and more, how do we also bring those kind of conversations into spaces with men and women together? So I don't know the answer to that, but I, recently been sharing that more frequently with those I've been speaking with on the topic, is that, if we can find really healthy, safe ways to have those conversations together, I really feel that's going to continue to evolve us even further. One of the things that I think we're having great conversations as women, and then when I get into the bigger group, we're still not having those fulsome conversations. And so how do we start to bring that together?
Right.
So I put that out there as an idea. I hope somebody listening to this grabs onto that. But I think we need to see more of those really deep conversations in rooms full of men and women.
So great thoughts, Brandy, on that. Now let's talk a little bit about, advice to the aspiring women leaders in tech or in general in any corporate. So if you have to give one piece of advice, what that advice would be from you?
The one piece of advice I would say is think about the direction that you want to go. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the general direction that you want to go, point yourself in that direction and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep going in the direction you're trying to go in, and talk to and get as much support as you can going in that direction. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be setbacks. I feel that resiliency is a big part of career growth. And I really encourage women to just keep moving forward. This piece of advice is something someone gave to me 20 years ago. And so I share it again because that's always a piece of advice that I've held on to.
Absolutely, and wonderful takeaways. So thanks for sharing your insights on that, Brandy. Now let's talk a little bit about your childhood times, your memories from childhood. I know you were born and raised here in Calgary, but some of the memories which you would like to share with us about your maybe school days or college days.
Well, I was very fortunate. I was born in Calgary, but I grew up out in Bright Creek, which I love. I love being outdoors and doing outdoor things. So when I was younger, I was a downhill ski racer. We did a lot of fun things with the family, sailing as well. And so I think for me, it's connecting with nature, doing things outside. That's a big part of my childhood memories. I also had, when I think about my family and how I grew up, my parents were essentially entrepreneurs in Calgary. They had a small company in the oil and gas industry. I can remember the dinner table conversations and the ups and downs and the booms and the busts back then, the 80s and 90s, and really got to see up close what it looked like to experience that a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the oil and gas industry. And from that, I want to say I learned that to be resilient. My dad actually lost his job at one point, and that's when he went out and started his company, which they were very successful at. And so sometimes when you look at experiences that you question is, something that might seem like a terrible setback or a big challenge, actually from my father and my mom actually ran the business with him, turned out really well, incredibly well for our family. So
So turning like failures into opportunities is what the
Absolutely.
key.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Now, let's talk a little bit about your hobbies and interests. What keeps you busy outside of work?
Yeah, like I said, I do quite a bit of outdoor activities. As something that I always share when people share things that people would be unexpected. I have a dirt bike. I ride dirt bikes with my husband and my sister and her husband and then my niece and nephew. We all go dirt biking together, so that's fun. Although I'm questioning that now as I get older, if my body can still handle it. And then I got an e-bike that I go riding on. I do, like I said, I do spend time with a women's group around development, personal development and support, and how we support women evolving in the community, so other leaders as well. So I spend time with that.
So thank you, Brandy, for sharing about your childhood memories. Now let's switch to our fun part of our discussion, which is the rapid fire round.
Absolutely.
So your first question: morning person or a night owl?
Definitely morning person.
Okay. Best piece of advice you have ever received? You mentioned that.
Yeah, I'd say keep putting one foot in front of the other and be resilient, even through the challenges and setbacks.
Okay, nice. One skill you wish more leaders focused on?
Oh, one skill I wish more leaders focused on. I would say I think that one would be listening.
Very necessary.
Really listening.
Okay, that's a good answer. Next one. If you could have dinner with any leader or innovator, who would it be and why?
It's interesting. Up until the Queen passed away, I actually would have said the Queen.
Okay.
And I know she's not here,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say her. I always admired how she led and held a country together with such grace and really she was a world leader without necessarily political power, but yet she still had
The grace.
but also leadership in how she moved forward. And I always find it fascinating the challenges she went through in her life, but still navigated it with so much grace.
That's a good answer. Next one. Something people would be surprised to know about you. Any hidden talent, hidden skill?
You know, one of the things that I don't share often is how much introspective work I do. I actually spend quite a bit of time on things like personal development, self-development, and exploring the deeper internal side of myself. So in the sense of, you know, when we have responses in life or when we do things, where does that come from? What is that about? And what links from our childhood to our behaviors now that actually causes that? And how can we learn to evolve ourselves and shift those behaviors by shifting our own mindset the way we are? So I'm very interested in neuroplasticity and how we change our brain and actually how we can shift and evolve directionally into who we want to become.
That's quite deep. Wonderful. And the last question, any favorite city which you would like to visit?
I have been to Italy a number of times. I love Italy. I will always go back to Italy in a heartbeat. But Portugal is and Porto is on my bucket list for a visit. I have heard it's beautiful and I'd love to visit there. I do love European countries.
Awesome. Great answers, Brandy. And thank you so much for being on our show. It's been really lovely chatting with you, knowing about your journey, about your experiences. So really thank you so much for being here today and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.